Hello everybody, welcome back to C&S Corvettes in beautiful sunny Sarasota, Florida. It's your Corvette buddy Lyle here to talk to you about more interesting, exciting, and hopefully helpful Corvette stuff. Today we're going to do something that I truly enjoy doing, and we're going to be doing it once a month from now on. I've had Tony comb through all of the comments from our last 15 or 20 videos and pulled out questions that you guys had asked, and today they are all located inside the C&S Corvettes magic hat, and I will be pulling them out and answering them as we go. So, as you watch this video, if you come up with a question that you need an answer to, put it in the comments below. Now, I can't give you what's the pink wire behind a radio in my 85. I also can't describe to you in detail how to do an entire torque tube job. But if you have a fairly specific pointed question, a yes/no question, or a do I do this or do I do that question, I can probably help you. Put it in the comments below and we'll pick some and answer them again in a couple of weeks. All right, first question from the magical C&S Corvettes hat, which is available on our website. Let's see what we've got. I have a 2008 C6 and was wondering if the brightness of the GPS screen can be dimmed. The answer to that is yes, it can. Now, if you look at the radio in your dash, you'll want to locate the fourth button from the top to the left of the screen. It's got a little music note on it and a picture of a screen. If you push that button, that will open up a menu that allows you to adjust the brightness and the contrast of your nav screen. So, there you go. Question number 2. When storing your C1 Corvette for the winter, I was told to start it up, pour about a quarter cup of oil down the carburetor, wait for it to stall out, and then shut it off. Is this something anyone should do? Okay, so let's talk about that. First of all, if you're going to pour oil into your carburetor, it needs to be an extremely thin oil, something like a Marvel Mystery Oil, and you need to pour very little of it in, because if you just gluck it into your carburetor, you're going to hydrolock your engine and destroy it. If you want to do that to pre-lube everything before storage, you need to be very, very familiar with your engine. You need to know what sounds it's making. You need to know when it starts to shut down. This is something that, unless you are a seasoned old GM engine mechanic or expert, I would not recommend doing, because while it is a good idea if it is done correctly, it is a catastrophe if it is done incorrectly. So be honest with yourself about your skill level, and if you aren't quite sure, don't do it. Or pay somebody who does know what they're doing to do it for you. Question number 3. Purchasing a 1992 with 35,000 miles. Not sure if the water pump has ever been replaced. Should I replace it as a preventative maintenance to protect the OptiSpark? Honestly, if you're buying a car that old, regardless of the mileage, and we know that the OptiSpark is a really weak part in those cars, I would say you're probably doing a good service to your car if you go ahead, do a coolant flush, change the oil, change the water pump with a good brand name water pump, check your hoses, everything to do with the cooling system, change the thermostat, and of course, get a good visual inspection of the outside of your OptiSpark. If it appears to have been wet in the past, might not be a bad time to replace that as well. I think that is probably a pretty good idea. Question number 4. What if my car was sitting for a year or two and I turned it on? Can I still drain the gas and put in new gas? And should I replace the filter and pump even if I recently replaced both? Okay. If you recently replaced the filter and the pump before it sat for a year or two, I would say 90% chance you're going to be replacing those again, because the gas in the tank has clearly gone bad in that time period. And as that gas turns bad, it's going to basically just eat the plastic pumps hanging in both of your fuel tanks. If you do have a car that's been sitting that long, do not, under any circumstances, turn the key and prime the fuel system to send that terrible fuel all the way up through your injectors. And do not start the car. You need to drain the tank completely. You need to test all the pumps. You need to test your fuel sending units to make sure that the levels are being measured correctly. Blow out the lines, change the filter, a year or two is a long time for fuel, especially modern fuel with ethanol in it. I would be very, very cautious, and I would overdo the fuel cleaning, the inspections, the mechanical replacements before ever attempting to start that engine, because the last thing you want to do is send bad fuel through your injectors and then have to replace those too. Question number 5. Is there any fuel additive that can extend the life of a fuel pump, or is it just the time that takes its toll on the plastic? It kind of goes back to question number 4. As long as your car isn't sitting for months or years at a time, the plastic fuel pumps in the later C5s and all through the C6s, they're designed to live in fuel. They're happy in fuel. So as long as it's fresh fuel and it is being circulated through the tanks regularly, odds are you're not going to have any problems that way. If you want to add additives like Techron or Seafoam, that's a good plan, especially if you store your car over the winter or whatever, to basically clear off the rheostats for your floats, for your fuel level sensors, if nothing else, because those tend to attract the ethanol globules that form as moisture coagulates inside the gas as it's sitting. Question number 6. What is the best time to change oil on a 2019 Corvette before you put your car away for the winter or in the spring? So I think, let me rephrase that. He's going to put his 2019 away for the winter and he's going to change the oil. He just wants to know if he should do it before putting it in storage or after putting it in storage. According to GM and according to a couple other guys that I talked to about this question, just to make sure my opinion wasn't way off base, it's better to do it before you put it into storage, because that way any of the corrosive elements or moisture that your used motor oil had absorbed or produced have been removed, so that when the car is sitting for several months, it's got brand new fresh oil in it and nothing that can hurt any of the metal surfaces that it comes in contact with. Question number 7. Is 1995 a good year for a first-time Corvette owner? I will tell you this, of all of the years of Corvette production, from 1953 all the way to 2025, the one year that had the best initial quality from J.D. Power was 1995. Specifically the 95 ZR1, but the 95 run of LT1 cars was also very, very strong. As long as you are prepared to deal with the expenses and the amount of maintenance involved in a 30-year-old car, the 1995 is not a bad choice. Question number 8, the Ocho. If the EBCM, electronic brake control module, goes bad in 2000, aside from buying a used one, how will that affect the drivability of the car? Is it possible to swap out a 2001 electronic brake control module and body control module into a 2000 model? Okay, I'm going to take these questions in the order they were asked. Buying a used EBCM for a 97 to a 2000 is expensive, and it is kind of risky because you're never going to get more than a 90-day warranty from anybody on a good used electronic part, usually 30 days. When your EBCM fails in a 97 to a 2000, it is very rare for it to intrude on your driving. Very, very rare. I'd say 1% of cars. You know, you'll have your idiot lights and you'll have your warnings that you have to press the reset button on to get rid of, but it's not going to make the car unsafe to drive. This is a question I get frequently, and it is lucky number 9. I'm stuck between choosing a C6 Grand Sport or a C7 base model Stingray. What should I buy if I want to retain value? That's actually a two-pronged question. Number 1, if you want to retain value, don't buy a car. Corvettes lose value. Granted, they lose it more slowly than, say, a Cobalt or an Impala or a Taurus or whatever, but you're not going to get out of this without losing money. Go into this, divorce yourself of the idea that you're not gonna lose money. You are. Hopefully you have a great time doing so, but you're going to lose money. The other part of his question, would I choose a C6 Grand Sport or a C7 base Stingray? If you're looking at retained value versus what you invest to get the car, I would say the C6 Grand Sport, especially the C6 Grand Sport manual coupe, is the best investment out of the bunch. And finally, number 10, I'm thinking about buying a 2015 Stingray Z51, but was worried about the torque tube issue. Should I not be overly concerned with this? Well, that's kind of a tough question to answer because all of the C7s are having coupler failures, age-related, not miles or abuse related. The design on the couplers, at least through 2017, has proven to be fairly fragile over time. If you are going to buy a 2015 Z51, you don't need to be scared about having a torque tube rebuild, but you do need to plan ahead for it. It's something that if it hasn't been done to the car, odds are good that it is going to become something you have to deal with during your ownership of that car. So budget accordingly. Make sure you set aside $4,000 in a hidey hole, under your mattress, wherever, so that when that torque tube does need to be rebuilt, you don't have to go into debt, put it on a high interest credit card, that you've got that money set aside and you can go, here you go, I knew this was coming, Lyle prepared me for it, and I just let me know when it's done. And that's it for today's questions, guys. Obviously, we had to limit it for time, but I'm really looking forward to see what other questions you have for me and for the rest of the crew here. Go ahead and put them in the comments below and we'll get to them. We'll probably do one a month of these. So you figure in the next 30 days, we'll do another one answering the questions that you put in the comments. Thank you so much for being a part of the C&S Corvettes family. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.